Thanksgiving begins a very special time of the year for us. It's the time of peace and reflection, and of getting ready for the new year. One thing we should all be thankful for is that we live in America, where we have the freedom to change things and the opportunity to...
Welcome to the Drunk Turkey Show, starring Big Blue.
Can I say hi, Kim?
Hi. Oh, I love you. You are just like a giant.
Or Lady Liberty just squirted in my face. Say when you do drink with a straw, the myth is you get more drunk because you get more air mixed in.
Hi, Maggie.
Like, you know how the fan's going like this? It goes, ooh, yeah, when it hits my butthole. Last time I went to Mexico, I stopped by a little stand and the lady had gloves. I was like, lady, take off those gloves. I need that shit.
It wasn't.
I'm drinking beer so you can feel good and like it tastes good. What the hell's the point of this?
And Daniel J.
I got a friend named John Martinez who's not allowed in the library. Yo puedo hablar español cuando yo tomando. You look very handsome tonight, LJ.
Every day, it's an everyday thing. I gotta
wake up and this is excellence.
Y'all watch them every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I get to see them every day. I get to see that. I get to see those chicks every day. What's on his face?
And the other ones.
From the year 3000, it still sucks. This is Phil J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drunk Turkey Show. I'm Daniel J. Alongside with me is Jaime and Big Blue. Jaime, how you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Excited for the weekend, you know?
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, out here in San Antonio, we got something called Fiesta, so I'm looking forward to some chicken on a stick and some tripa tacos this weekend.
Nice.
Big Blue, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm keying up after yesterday's storm, man. I have tree branches down. You know, I had to order a new chain for my chain pole saw because it's bent from I got pinched in a branch. So.
Dang.
But yeah, it was pretty rough here around my house. They hailed 3 times yesterday, about pea size, and then about like cherry size hail, then about dime size hail again later, and then somewhere as big as like half a golf ball.
Yeah, it wasn't too big out here as far as the hail goes. We did have quite a bit of it though. My power went out for like 6 hours, dude. And where I'm at, I guess the AT&T tower also went out because I didn't have phone service or anything until about like 9:30, 9:45. I ended up telling the family, I was like, hey, let's I gotta make some calls and stuff. Let's go into town. We about to pile in the truck, and then all of a sudden all the lights on the block turned on. I'm like, I guess we're gonna stay. Welcome everybody in the live chat. Thank you all for coming in. We have a good show for you guys, a great show for you guys. We're going to be talking a little bit of UFOs. We can talk a little bit of aliens, and we have a story that is not a new story, but one that, well, first when I heard about this, I was like, how does everybody not know about this story? You know what I'm saying? And it comes with it's known as, it's been dubbed Brazil's Roswell, and it is a incident that happened in it sounds like Virginia, but it's not. There's like an extra H there. Pronounce it, Jaime. You got the accent.
That's pretty much what it is Varginha.
Varginha. There you go. Brazil, where in 1996, a craft witnessed by multiple people went down, and creatures were found and discovered and actually taken to a nearby hospital and to an army base.
Yeah.
And, you know, at first when I heard this story, I was like, how does the world not know about a downed UFO that had some sort of creatures in it and nothing have it? Well, we're going to get into it. So this is where the crash had occurred. You know, it's in Varginha, Brazil. It was on, what was it, like the 13th of January, right? 1996?
Yes, the 13th of January, yes. I was 11 years old.
Now, initially, we have here Oralina and Erico de Friatas. They are on a farm, and they see what looks like a cigar-shaped craft smoking, throwing white smoke coming down. Right? They go outside. They view this object. They describe it as an object that was seemed like it was struggling to maintain altitude, and so like that.
That's the next dream.
That's the next one. That's the next one. So these guys initially saw the craft, right? Now we have some corroborating evidence when we look at Carlos de Sousa. He was basically in the area, driving to where his friends were, and this is the first part that I found a little bit suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
He was on his way to go hang out with his buddies to go fly lightweight airplanes. Ultralight airplanes, yeah. And so when I first heard that, I was like, could this be just one of those ultralight airplanes crashing? I don't know. But he described something very similar to the couple. They found he saw a cigar-shaped craft coming down. And he made some interesting statements. He said that he saw it. He said he could see that there was damage alongside of the craft, and that it was also smoking white. So you have these three witnesses saying that they saw a cigar-shaped craft smoking white coming down. He stated that the vehicle was coming down. It seemed like it appeared that it was struggling, did a 360 turn, came back towards the direction that it was coming from. It started to gain altitude and then lower altitude, and he said, and he used the term, it seemed like the engines turned off or were no longer working, and the craft ended up crashing. First thing the next thing that kind of came to my attention with this is the engines. Like typically when we see or we hear about these events where there's spacecraft, alien crafts, one of the main things that we hear is there's no sign of propulsion. Him to think that there was engines that were failing, do you think maybe perhaps this thing was making a sound? Because and a lot of the information we got is from James Fox's documentary Moment of Contact, so I highly recommend you watch that. At the end of the day, what do you call it? There's a lot of stuff in there that we're not going to talk about that you probably are going to find very informative, and a lot of it's in another language, so there's a lot of reading involved. But he ends up seeing the craft come down, right? What did you think about his statement? We'll start off with you, Jaime, about engines and engines failing.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't understand, because he mentioned that it looked like a washing machine, right? Like it was acting like a washing machine, turning on and off, back and forth.
Right.
But I don't think he mentioned anything about hearing any noise. I don't remember correctly if he did, but from what I remember is that he said that it looked like it was having trouble. But what I think I'm more interested in is how was this supposedly UFO damage from what? From whom?
True. And what about you, Big Blue, before we move on? What did you think about the engine statement, the statement that, what he was going to go do that night, which was fly ultralight planes? Any of those things stand out to you?
Man, it's a pretty popular hobby for ultralight planes flying. But the engine part, I didn't get to into that part. I was like half asleep watching this after work, guys. So I've been running around the last couple days. I can't answer it too well on that one, man. I have to rewatch it.
What's it called? When I saw the documentary, and they asked him if he could recognize where the site was, and they took him out there by the farm. Mm-hmm. He had mentioned he saw a white house, and it was close to a fence and everything like that. But I mean, he had a hard time remembering since it was like 26 years ago, right?
Right. Right. And when the initial place that they went to, which is right here, it's Melanie Farm in Brazil. They stopped at an initial spot, which wasn't the location. And his point of reference was the White House, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
They ended up finding the White House. And as soon as they found where that White House was, he was dead on. This is the exact area that this craft went down. And so, you know, like you're saying, when he was like, I don't know if it was here or over there, there was a White House. I was starting to get real, you know, suspicious of these claims.
Yeah.
But then they found the White House, and he was able to point out the crash site compared to where the White House was. And I felt that, you know, he was very, in my opinion, he appeared to be credible. The guy literally teared up and started crying when he was recounting the events that had occurred. And basically what he said was he'd seen a downed aircraft, it was cigar shaped, and that there was a smell. And it was described as an ammonia sulfur type smell coming from the area. He stated that shortly after parking, that he ran down there, that he found a piece of the craft. And he said that the craft itself was metallic in color. He picked it up. He said it was ultra light, and that when he crushed it, it went back to form. Very similar to the craft that we hear that crashed in Roswell, New Mexico, and some of the same things that they're saying, right? And so I was like, okay, all right, you know, that kind of information has been out since the 40s, since Roswell. Maybe perhaps he's familiar with that case, right?
Yeah.
And the documentary is on a downed UFO craft in Brazil that ended up having bodies found. And so this is the crash site.
I think they meant what platform? It's on YouTube. I know that.
Well, you can buy it or rent it on YouTube. It's also on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure what else it's on. And so here's the crash site.
I'd bootleg it.
Yeah.
That's great. I think they have it free on application called Plex.
I think so.
I actually was interested when I was listening to the director talk about when they found the White House on another podcast, because they were out there for a while and they couldn't find it until he got his drone out and he started surveying the landscape with the drone, and that's when they found it. So do you ever wonder if that's where they got some of the technology from drones on spaceships?
It's possible, man. There's possible that there's a lot of technology that's out there that's from down spaceships, if we were able to figure it out, right? Yeah. And so he states that he's out there, he checks the craft or whatnot. He doesn't mention any bodies or anything like that, but he does mention a smell. And that's important because this smell and this description of the smell comes out quite a bit, right? And so at that point, he says the military arrives and at gunpoint force him to leave. Yeah. Right? And so he takes off, and a few days go by. I think it's on January 20th. These young ladies here end up seeing a creature. And this is the area in which they found, this is the area in which they live, and this right here where it says girls encounter is where, in this little grass area, where they discovered a creature. And it was discovered by Valkyria, who was 14 at the time, Katia, who was 21, and Lillian, who was 16. These are them now. And their story hasn't changed. The story has been the same since the night that this incident has occurred, up until the point that until now when they're doing the documentary.
Yeah.
And so apparently they're walking through that field, and one of the little girls is walking ahead of the other two girls, and she notices the graffiti on the wall. And as she was looking at the graffiti, they noticed the creature. And this is what they described to have seen. And this is a artist's illustration of what they saw at the time. Mm-hmm. They described a grayish color being with red, large eyes. Yep. In fact, all three of them had a drawing, and what they drew were just mainly the eyes. They said that there was a small slit as for a mouth, that it didn't look like a regular mouth, and they didn't draw a nose. This artist drew a nose, but on their depiction there wasn't a nose, but there was 3 dots on the top of the head, or three lumps. So first and foremost, what are your thoughts on this creature here that they saw, which was about 8 feet away from them?
Yeah, what's it called? They also said that whenever they stumbled upon it, right, that they said that they can also smell that smell of ammonia, sulfur. All three of them said the same thing, and they also said that it looked like it was in pain, like it was struggling. People are saying, well, researchers saying that it might have been because of the heat at that time, because it was 3:00 in the afternoon when this happened, broad daylight.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying, that what they saw, the girl saw the creature, and they said that it looked like it was in pain, or struggling.
Right. And they did mention also that it was appeared to be sweating.
Mm-hmm.
Right, very oily, very sweaty. This is an actual clipping from a newspaper article, and so of another different design or drawing, you can tell by the top of the head, but there's still those 3 lumps and the very large eyes. And so they end up calling the police, and our military ends up showing up, and they capture this creature just a few blocks away. Now, I forgot, before they captured the creature, this is from the mom. She went out there to the area, one of the mothers of the girls, and she saw a 3 printed footprint on the ground, and the smell of sulfur and ammonia was still very strong in there.
Yeah, I believe the skin, they said that it was like brownish in color, right?
Grayish brownish, yeah.
Grayish brownish. It looked like you said earlier, that it had like some sort of like oil substance on it.
Right. Oily substance, and it was either sweating or it was just kind of greasy. Was what they explained it was. So Marco Ceresi is he's like a military. Was he military police?
Yeah, no. Well, he was like in the armed forces for the military.
Right, in the armed forces. He and alongside a guy named Eric Lopez are in a patrol vehicle, and they end up seeing this creature run across him. Now, this young man goes out and captures this creature with his bare hands.
Yeah.
Right. They end up taking this creature with bare hands and arms to a nearby hospital, and he ends up becoming sick. And so this is the doctor, Cesariano Futurato, who treated Marco, and he stated that he had that oily substance on his arm, and that at first he was okay, he was fine, but then he began to get sick. He died, Marco, that is, a few days later from what they described as a general infection. He talked about the smell as well of sulfur and ammonia, and he talked about how he had this oily substance on his arms and his hands and things of that nature. Now, this is Marco's sister, and she has a report for the medical report for Marco, and what they said was that there was an unidentifiable substance in his blood or body. There was a presence of a granular toxin, and he showed 8% of fine-grained neutrophils. And so what neutrophils are a type of white blood cell that is an important part of the immune system that helps fight the body's infection. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not sure what any of that means, but they classified his death as a general infection. So Blue, you being in the medical field, do those type of definitions typically come when somebody loses their life due to a general infection?
Well, once you told me the name of it, I was like, let me see what it is. So they actually pronounce it neutrophils. So we're gonna get butchered for that one.
I'm not a doctor, guys.
But yeah, so I was reading up on it and seeing what can cause the low neutrophils in your system, and a bunch of viruses, and then in that like third world countries like Brazil, uh, hepatitis A, hepatitis B can be pretty scarce, but they would have probably found that if they tested for it.
Right.
And then the granules is what's pretty interesting to me. Is like if he, when did they test him to find the granules? You know what I mean? Was it in his system from when he picked it up and his body absorbed it? And it's kind of hard to find out. I had to investigate more there. But my question was, did he have cancer? Because cancer can cause the neutrophils to get really low also. But in the pictures that I've seen, he looked healthy and he didn't look like, drained like somebody with cancer would. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, especially when they went totally downhill within a month.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was he was normal, and then boom, like he started having, what seems like an infection, and that they couldn't fight it. They couldn't beat it. And well, Mark, I wouldn't fight these with your bare hands.
Yeah, Mark, you might get sick. Or, for everybody that doesn't know, Mark fight the kangaroos.
Oh, in the water. That's how you know he's tough. And so the sister has come out and she said stuff like that she thinks there's more involved into this case, right?
Yeah.
And that they're not explaining everything. Now, here's my other thing. If he had some type of infection, do you think this infection would be contagious to other people, especially if he's holding something that is not from this world? I would think so. I think that, him coming in contact with a being, if it's from somewhere else, if he did come in contact with it, I would expect there be some viruses or bacteria or germs or whatever the case may be that is alien to our planet and to our immune system, which would cause probably some sort of crazy infection. I mean, we all know what happened when, like, for instance, the Europeans came and, basically back in the day when they were searching the world and exploring, they gave viruses to a lot of indigenous, whether they were natives from this country or others. They attacked. I think there was one story where it was in the where was it, in the Amazon, where these explorers went to the Amazon. They described cities and like agriculture and a bunch of stuff that was going on. When the explorers went back and came back, they couldn't find anything. They thought they were lying. I think what ended up happening was that they ended up getting some form of virus from the Europeans, and it spread through the native Amazonians, and they all passed. And so there are now finding with like lasers and sono type of equipment those cities and uncovering them from the depths of the jungle, because once all the human beings were gone, the jungle just took over and went rampant, right?
Yeah.
And so we have the sister who's concerned. Now, as far as the body of the creature, apparently there was another creature that was also captured that day. So there was two of them. The first one, and actually this one with the police officer, was the second one. The first one that was captured was by firefighters, and they used the net to catch it. There was some reports outside of the city in the wooded area that there was some kind of creature roaming around. They found it. They captured it with a net, and they said that it was screaming and crying like a child.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so
that one was witnessed by a lot more, because a lot more reports were coming in.
Yeah.
For that one, that they called the fire department to try to capture it, or you know what I mean, like, how I think over there they for animals that are wild, running around wild, I think they call the fire department to take care of them.
Right, for sure. And so what ends up happening, and I want to also put this out there, that there is a military base. It's right here, this Essa Tres area. That is also a military base. It's very close to Varginha, Brazil. And so what ends up happening is both of those beings, I believe, ended up at a place called Humanities Hospital, right? And
Yeah.
they ended up being dropped off in the back and then transported to this Air Force base. They ended up bringing one of those bodies back to the hospital to have it x-rayed. They had a radiologist come forward and talk about his experience there. Now, he in the documentary, Moment of Contact, was he didn't want to come forward. He didn't want to say his name or anything, so we don't have his picture or his identification. But what he stated was they sworn him to secrecy, and that he had a what looked like a oily gray skinned creature that they took X-rays of, and that it left the smell of sulfur and ammonia for days in the hospital, to the point they had to shut down that entire wing for a while, and they couldn't service patients in the area because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have this smell coming from several different places, right? And it's consistent and it's corroborated. So to me, that makes it seem somewhat reliable. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to like different people's, being witnesses, once you can put certain, evidence they all have together in the same way, and it makes it more credible, right?
Right.
And that's what I was like on the other one where Marco, how he touched it, he got infected. I don't know if there was any reports of them quarantine when they put him in, especially the personnel, the hospital personnel.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. There's no tell of that. Hold on. So we're about halfway there, guys. So what we do on Fridays is, for the live chat, goes to members only. So we encourage you guys to be members. If not, no big deal. You can still sit in and watch, but we're going to be switching over to members only. And so, and it's just a chat. Everybody can continue to watch. So this incident occurs. They end up taking the bodies back, right?
Yeah.
And a soldier who transported the bodies comes forward, right? He talks about how they went to the back gate of the Humanities Hospital, which is consistent with what was being described at that time. That's, I think, the third different person that described the bodies being delivered in the back gate of this hospital. He talks about going in there, seeing just a leg inside of a box. Now, there was a being in there, but what he could see were the legs. The rest of it was covered. It was a box on top of a steel table. He stated that the legs looked oily, and that it was a three-toed creature. And he does this number.
Yeah.
And so to show,
I can't.
This. How you doing with both hands? All right, a lot of practice, guys. A lot of practice. And so
I'm gonna ask.
Star Trek.
Yeah, let's say Star Trek. I can't do it. I would fail. Like, he's one of the enemies. Shoot him.
Right. I'm one of them. And so what ends up happening is he describes the feet as being three-toed, very similar to the footprint that is described from the mother of the three children that saw the creature initially.
Yeah.
Right. And so he ends up taking the body back to the base, and then they end up going from what we understand is they go from this base down to this base, which is this is ESA, and this is SPEC-X. And here, apparently, USA government officials show up and recover the bodies and take them with them.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make all sense right there?
Nothing sketchy at all.
No.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. So,
do you believe that maybe these are the bodies that Bob Lazar was working on?
I don't know, man. I don't think so.
What was that?
He said the bodies that Bob Lazar was. I don't think Bob Lazar worked on.
Not worked on it, but he saw.
according to Bob Lazar, he doesn't remember what he saw. According to Bob Lazar, he says that what do you call it? That what he had seen was possibly a puppet. It could have been a real being. That he just saw it out of the corner of his eye, passing a door with a window, and that he suspects that there's a possibility that they may have put that there for him as some kind of, trick. You know what I'm saying? To corroborate the stuff that he was read. But with Bob Lazar, man, like I saw a podcast about him, and I'm a little bit skeptical when it comes to Bob. Not so much the story per se. Now we have a friend of the show named Alien Girl 1111. I think there's 3 or 4 ones there. Go check her out.
There's plenty of ones.
Yeah, she had a theory, and she kind of explained that on her show. And the more that I listen to what's going on here, I'm thinking that I think there's some truth there. She suspects that there was a person at S4 that knew about all this information, but that person is not Bob Lazar. That Bob Lazar is the cover guy for that person, the spokesperson, the person that they're saying, and that the real person hasn't come forward yet. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, when I saw the documentary with on Bob Lazar, I saw the fact that he, even before we knew what kind of equipment that certain base had, he had drawn like how to access it, like the I guess it's like a pad where you have to like put your special.
Oh yeah.
And he drew it, and then later on it came out to be it's pretty accurate.
But supposedly that device that was used to measure the bones inside your fingers to determine your, it was supposed to be a way of determining who you were, right? Like a fingerprint. But what they did was they measured the length of your fingers, the bones in your fingers. That was apparently in the movie Space Odyssey, and which was around and out prior to Bob Lazar coming out. Here's the part that makes me suspicious about Bob, is that he was friends with John Lear prior to supposedly working at S4. Yeah. And John Lear was a guy that was claiming that there was 11 ships at a sub base of Area 51 at the time. Now, one of the things that brings in question is if Bob Lazar was going to work at such a high top security place, why would they hire him knowing that he was friends with John Lear, who was already putting out this type of information?
Yeah.
Right. And John Lear was already familiar with George Knapp. So these guys all knew each other prior to him going out there. John Lear said that he was in connection with somebody who worked at that base. Now, this was prior to Bob Lazar working there. And so that leads me to believe that maybe perhaps there is a guy that works there and did tell John Lear some things, and John Lear and Bob Lazar sort of did their thing because, shortly after Bob Lazar gets, all this stuff happens, they arrest him for putting cameras in one of those bordello places or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
And so,
well, he got arrested too.
Yeah, he did. We got a $2 super chat. I'm just here. Whatever. So,
I'll send you cash app.
I'll send you cash app. But when it comes to him, I'm starting to suspect maybe perhaps he was a guy. He worked on he put a rocket ship inside of a Honda, which I have a Honda. I might do the same. And he was apparently, a lot of these scientists in Los Alamos liked him. They liked him. They thought it was interesting. And Alien Girl has brought out, and she's told us who she thinks that the real guy is, and that guy worked at Los Alamos and had brought up Bob Lazar's car in one of the interviews. Like, oh yeah, I remember Bob Lazar. He had the spaceship rocket and the Honda type of thing.
Yeah.
And so those things were brought up. And also the other thing was his education. He has 1 degree from a place that got in trouble for selling degrees, prestige or pristine or something like that.
Mhm.
And so he bought his degree. sorry, Steelers fan. I appreciate the comment. And then, what do you call it? The other places he couldn't come up with names of professors or things of that nature, like MIT and stuff. Now, I know, and I'm sure you can attest to this, that the military will send you to go get trained at colleges for specific jobs. They may not send you for everything. Like, for instance, they're not going to send you for English literature or things of that nature. But if you're, for instance, in some type of technological class, they might send you to go learn the engineering portion of those classes. But the military doesn't care if you have a degree or not, or if you get the prerequisites or those things. So it's possible that they could have sent them to those places to get that specific training. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I think they're saying to AIT,
Yeah.
Which is Advanced Individual Training for your specific job. Like when I was there, I was a mechanic, which is weird because I was a mechanic. I was working on Jeeps and whatnot, right? On Humvees, and when I got to my permanent duty station, they threw me on a tank convoy. So it was like that was jet engine. So I was like, what the hell? Like I learned about regular diesel engines, man. What am I doing?
Well, people wonder, like, for instance, that Jack Taraska or whatever his name is that leaked out those Pentagon. Like, how did that guy at that age have such security clearance?
Yeah,
well, I mean, he started young.
I started as a diesel mechanic and ended up working on. All I worked on was on tanks, and I was like, well, what the hell was the training for? I had to learn everything out there by myself, you know.
Yeah, I know a person who was top security clearance in a different branch, not the Army, and his job initially was he was a linguist and learned all these languages. Right, never used them. They had him. They used his security clearance to have him work on top secret aircrafts and be on top secret aircraft. And that's as far as I can say on that aspect. But he's like, man, I learned all these languages for all these years, and they never used me once for to go spy on those type of languages. What's up, Big Blue?
No, I was gonna say it sounds just like the military, man. They'll spend a lot of money on you over here and use you to, go unclog the toilet.
It's true, man. It's true. There's a saying out there. One of them's hurry up and wait, and the other one is they'll spend 10 grand on a hammer. And so they spend a lot of money on certain things.
Oh yeah, man. They got to keep their budgets to keep coming in. Again, if anybody knows military facilities, they get a budget every year. And if they don't spend that budget, then they lose that amount of budget. They get reduced. So yeah, they'll buy the same set of tools 50 times, and they might be used once.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so go to auctions, and they're almost like brand new in auctions. In a box.
So back to the Brazil case, the cigar-shaped craft. It sounds different than what Bob Lazar demonstrated. There's white smoke coming out of it. There's talk about engines. Do you think it's of the same technology of what possibly was an S4? Let's just say that Bob Lazar's story is true. Maybe not him behind it, but that somebody was, right? Yeah. Those crafts were designed to create gravity waves to propel it forward by using its own form of gravity. And when it needed to speed up, it would go belly up and then travel belly forward. Yeah. A cigar-shaped craft doesn't sound like it would do that. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you guys think when it comes to this craft? Do you think what do you think? Do you think it's aliens, or you think, because I know that there was another person that had came out and stated that the government told them it was supernatural. Mm-hmm. What do you think? You think it was supernatural? Think it was the chupacabra? And I don't know.
I think if it was aliens, I'm sure they have different models. Like we have cars. They probably had they probably have BMWs in Roswell, and this guy probably had like a beat up Volkswagen or something, like a beat up crash in Brazil.
Just say he had a Ford.
He had a Ford.
I
Hey,
own a
I got a
Ford.
Ford.
I had a Ford too. Okay.
What are you trying to say?
Okay, my Ford broke down a lot too. So did my Chevy.
My Ford F-150 2007 has 385,000 miles and running strong.
Mine has like 24 and it's been to the shop like 3 times. It's a true story, man.
19 F-150 that I had, it leaked the AC coolant into the floorboards. It had a coolant leak, and it's like, man, it's only had like 30,000 miles on it. So, but I'll tell you what, my '78 Ford did last me a long time, and that bad boy only had like 48,000 miles on it though.
The problem is they don't make cars like they used to. They used to make them to last. Now they make them so that they can earn more money in, repairs.
Today's more quantity than quality.
Exactly.
Okay, they just say they had a Nissan, okay, because Nissan had the worst luck when it came into their transmissions.
Yeah. What's it called?
We'll pile up on Nissan.
I think I'm sure, like, if there's vehicle, let's say there's really is aliens and they have this type of spacecraft, I'm sure they're not all the same, right?
If they come from different places, I would assume they would be vastly different. You know what I mean? Now, if they all came from the same spot, then maybe perhaps. But the way Bob Lazar described it was that the reason why these crafts had to be circular was because it like threw out some shit over it and it came around the craft almost like in a heart shape. And if you were to look at it, it'd go in a circle around it.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that would work with a cigar-shaped craft. It'd have to have another means of propulsion. Maybe still work with gravity, but not by amplifying the waves in the same manner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying, but like what I'm more intrigued is like, how did this supposedly UFO get damaged? Was it shot down? You know what I mean? Did it hit something, or was because they were saying it was smoking and it had damage on the side before it even crashed?
Well,
yeah.
That's true. That's true. I don't know, man.
Maybe entering the Earth's atmosphere, it must have picked up some
hit a bird,
a meteorite field or something.
Right. Because the other thing is, so here's my other thought. Like, maybe it's not like intergalactic. Maybe it's interdimensional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's from another dimension. They describe these creatures with 3 toes. They were able to apparently breathe the human, they were able to breathe the oxygen like human beings would, things like that. Because they were on Earth for a few days. This crash happened the 16th. They weren't captured till the 20th. So there's 4 days later. Do you think that maybe perhaps it's from Earth, just different dimension?
Shit, at this point, anything's possible, to tell you the truth. I know that was it NORAD was the ones who told the Brazilian authorities about it, that they picked it up on the radar, right?
Yeah. NORAD said they picked it up on radar, and yeah.
You think they might have something to do with the with the damage?
It could have. I mean, if something's flying in your airspace and you don't know what it is, could be a threat, you're going to shoot it down. Unless you're American, it's a Chinese spy plane.
Or a freaking balloon there on a ship.
You probably are going to wait until it passes the entire country first, and then shoot it down. Yeah. But the reason I also think this is maybe perhaps is the 3-toed thing, right? Maybe in an alternate universe, asteroid didn't kill the dinosaurs and they evolved to something of intelligence, but that's the only thing I could think of when it came to that 3-toed thing.
Yeah. You know why those Range Rovers are always in the shop? Because unfortunately they had Ford interiors in them.
That's not true. I had one. There was no Ford parts.
the transmission and the motors are from Ford.
Yeah, but all my problems were electrical.
What's it called? I also wonder I also wondered if they ever gave like a polygraph. You know how they did with what's his name? What's his name? The one from Fire in the Sky, Walton.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
how they
Well,
gave him and his buddies polygraph test, and they passed. I wonder if they give poly. I mean, I wonder if they're willing to take a polygraph test. The three witnesses, the girls, and then was it Carlos de Sousa?
yeah, yeah. That would be great if they would. I
Mhm.
know probably some of the issues would be getting a translator and somebody from the area to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be compelling. I think that when you look at the fact that you have some evidence here that's all cooperated, you have three witnesses, two that are one is a couple and one is by himself that both saw the cigar shaped craft.
Yeah.
Um, Both saw that the vehicle was smoking and was having struggle keeping altitude. And then you have three witnesses that see the same creature. That creature be described by other witnesses, including military personnel, doctors, and radiologists. You have all of these personnel plus those three witnesses and the guy that saw the down aircrafts describe a smell of ammonia and sulfur in the area.
Mhm.
There's a lot of compelling evidence when it comes to this case that make you to believe that something happened, something went down,
Yeah.
and there was a creature that was caught that ended up taking the life of at least one person that we know of. Now, in the documentary, and I'm not going to give away everything because I want you guys to go watch it. They do make contact with Eric Lopez, who was driving with him. And I'll leave it at that. You guys got to go watch it for that. But they made contact with him. They made contact with the traffic controller, who did confirm that two USA helicopters went to Brazil and collected the bodies and left. Why do you think Brazil would give the United States those bodies?
I have no idea. I think they don't have the resources. Maybe for that. That's the reason to secure it. You know what I mean?
You think the U.S. gave them something back?
It's give or take, right?
Yeah,
I think Brazil, for the longest time, has been under our control for a while. See that much. I mean, look
Yeah.
at what just happened this past month. I mean, them and China signed a new treaty where they don't have to, when they do their sales, they don't have to convert their money to the U.S. dollar no more.
Yeah.
So for us to be able to control their sales means we have some kind of power with their money.
Mm-hmm.
So now we can't control that no more. Starting, I think the new treaty between them two starts like this summer or something like that, or soon. So there's
And not
something in
to-
there that we have to look into and find out.
Maybe they give it up to the United States. They gave the creatures back to the United States. What's it called? They give the creature or the alien. They give them back to the United States because they have more experience with capturing aliens.
True. And the other question I have is why Brazil? Why would this craft be visiting Brazil? Brazil, is it?
Well,
What do you think?
I mean, Brazil is known for these kind of UFO sightings all over the place. I mean, even up to like one of the biggest ones is like in 2013 that we're having protests out there, and thousands of people saw somewhat of a flying object out there.
That's
You know?
true.
I mean,
What?
2016, 2013, it's almost every like 4 years. There's
What is it?
funny things going on.
Brazil part of the equator border. I mean, what is it called? The belt. I'm trying to remember the name of it. The boat that runs all the way around the world, and they were linking it to Edgar Island. They were linking it to the pyramids. If you follow that line, it goes straight through there.
Oh, what are called those lines? I can't remember the name. Remember we talked about it, Daniel, a while back, probably in our first couple of live streams. I can't remember
Right.
that they're all connected somehow, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I just can't remember.
Creed
But,
64. Oh, go
There
ahead.
were also reports that there was government officials, right? Like Men in Black.
Yeah, that went out there. Supposedly, they offered money and things to the family of the three to keep their silence.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a 199 super chat. Creed 64 goes, "Is this why Trump started Space Force?" I mean, it's possible. I think when it comes to Space Force, I think it would behoove of the United States to have it, mainly because of the fact that you have, like, for instance, you have these high altitude Chinese spy balloons. If we're able to get above them and see them coming, sooner than later, that helps. Also, for instance, China and other countries have been known to throw missiles out into basically space, travel around the earth, and can strike targets. So those things are reasons why also you want to defend your satellites and things like that.
Yeah.
But man, if something comes from somewhere else, it's better to have one and not need it than need it and not have one. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So
now the other thing I'm interested in is in those leak reports that just came out, is that that Chinese new plane they built, the one that can travel 3 times the speed of sound, right?
Mhm.
yeah, they have a super plane that came out of that Pentagon leaks.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if those are those objects we've been seeing lately, like the pill.
here's the thing: China steals a lot of their shit, right? They steal all their technology. They usually steal it from us. We've had supposedly, what was the name of that damn airplane? The Aurora, that was supposedly able to do the same thing and travel super high and things of that nature. Maybe it's the Chinese version of the Aurora plane that we haven't disclosed of. And so, my biggest concern when it comes to China and all these things is the fact that they own the chips, and I guess they're finding out now that a lot of these chips and a lot of things that they own is sending information back. But I do have a UFO video to show you guys. This one was released. I'm not sure if you guys had seen this. Let me
Mute.
Yeah, it's muted. No, you don't have to mute. I have this muted. So you're gonna see this plane, or this boom. It comes through the middle. It's metallic in color.
It doesn't look big at all.
It don't look big at all. Look at that thing.
Whatever it is, it's moving.
It is, but is it moving? Is it defining the laws of gravity? Is it doing anything that you would say that, hey, that's alien?
Yeah.
It's
It
a
just
metal
looks
orb.
weird. It's not doing anything special, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, could it be a lightweight balloon just being pushed along the wind?
I don't know, that fast. That's pretty fast. Like he's having trouble just keeping up with it.
Yeah, you're right. But they talk about, like, for instance, if we look at some of these
I would say
crafts that we
it's not a balloon. To me, typically, if you let a balloon go, it will go, but it goes up. I think
that's true.
That's
parallel.
staying level.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's that high up from the ground, to tell you the truth.
It doesn't. That is interesting. It is interesting.
That's probably more. That's weird. I wonder if anybody, if they reported it or whatnot. Like more witnesses.
Because there's some right there on the ground. You see them moving into the house, walking.
Yeah.
So.
That is weird.
Yeah, and that is one of the statements that was out there, that when this was put out, was that it goes parallel to the ground. It doesn't ascend or descend.
Yeah.
And so that is suspicious. It does look like just a metal ball. So how is it moving? How is it traversing without some sort of so with propulsion, from what we understand, is you spit things out the back to move forward, right?
Yeah.
Combustion, air, explosion, fire, whatever it may be. You spit it out the back and that propels you forward. There ain't nothing spitting out the back of that.
That's it's too small. I believe it might be just a personal one, right? Like just for one person in there, maybe. It looks tiny.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody would be in that. That could be a probe.
Like a drone?
Yeah, like an unmanned drone probe
aircraft.
But it is super shiny.
Yeah. If that was anything military, it wouldn't be shiny like that. I'll tell you that.
That's true too. What would be the purpose of having something so metallic, that you could see?
Well, if it's military, I don't think they would be doing it in a residential area.
Oh, buddy.
Uh-uh.
Oh, buddy.
Well,
You know what? I'm gonna get this guy off the
they're
stream.
in broad daylight. They're in broad daylight.
I'm gonna remove him.
Like, I mean, I think this was like in that. It's not over the United States. It's over that Mosul or something like that. I can't remember the pronunciation of it. Yeah, and so it's super shiny. Now, maybe perhaps if you're looking at it from the ground up, would it blend in with the sky? Maybe. I don't know. But that thing is extremely metallic. This has just been, released or declassified. So it is a real video. It is a real object. Just not sure what it is.
But slowly but surely, we're getting more and more videos declassified, which is good.
Yeah, it is true. You think we'll ever find out the truth?
Eventually.
I don't know, man.
When you die, maybe.
When we die. And I was talking about this not too long ago when it comes to the advancement of our species or country or whatever, it's been held back by the elites, in my opinion. You have like companies like Halliburton or oil type of tycoons that don't want to move away from oil and gasoline powered vehicles because that does away with a lot of their money. And so, they hide away and, prevent things like the hydrogen car that was, rumored to have been out a long ass time ago, and vehicles that can run on vegetable oil and shit like that. And so, in this situation, is it possible maybe that, we just aren't aware of certain propulsion technology that's out there that is our own, and we're just undersizing ourselves?
No, the government has their secrets.
That's true. I mean, the B-2 bomber or whatever it's called was in use for almost 50 years before they came out with it.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just hoping Grandpa Joe gets more dementia in his lips.
Well, then they're gonna blame that. They're gonna be like, they're gonna say, he don't know what he's talking about. He's talking about aliens. But Trump, he was trying to put it out there, but I think that was the wrong approach for votes. In my opinion, I think the right approach isn't the aliens, it's the ganja. Make that legal, and I guarantee you'll be president.
Yeah, well, that's I don't want to make it political, so.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about it doesn't matter what president, who you are. You could be RFK Jr. who just.
Oh yeah. No, but I was gonna say some other stuff about that certain thing, but I'll wait for another live stream. But when it comes down to the Brazil incident, it's. I remember I saw the documentary and it showed that when was it like a colonel or something came out to do the press release. And he came out and said that it wasn't true, that it was all just rumors, right? And I guess a reporter or journalist asked him, like, well, show us proof. And he's like, you don't need proof. Like, if I say it, that's what it is. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I was like, what the hell? I was like, damn. I was like, all right, I guess.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is.
I think everybody's like, all the governments around the world, they're gonna hide something.
Oh yeah, they have to. They have to.
They can't expose everything. Imagine there'll be chaos, man.
Oh yeah.
Well, just in those recent document leaks, we found out so many, not just the United States, but other countries have, services or special services or forces in Ukraine, undercover and things of that nature. And so not just the United States. And so, yeah, those secrets are rampant. And I don't know. Do you think it's safe to have so many secrets like that? You end up getting somebody like Putin who's paranoid and could push a red button.
Well, I mean, that'll be a hell of a firework show.
Well, I mean,
I don't want front row seats for that.
Nah. Well, unfortunately for me and Blue, we're probably in a city that would be target for that. So,
I'm
but
good.
I hate tacos, and then he'll press the button.
right, that would suck. And so, but yeah, guys, to put a bow on this, and final thoughts on it. Do you guys think that the Brazil incident was real? Was it partially real, or is it a complete bogus? We'll start off with you, Jaime.
Oh man, I want to believe it's real. I mean, you know, I always believe that there's more than it's more than us in the universe.
Right.
But like the witnesses, like you said, like the witnesses, they have a lot of evidence. They witnessed the same thing pretty much, from what they saw, from what they felt, and what they the smell that they had. That supposedly this creature had. The witnesses said that that's exactly what they smell like and everything. So there is some credible witnesses. They look like they feel like they're credible witnesses, especially Carlos de Sousa too. I mean the way he just kind of like you can see the way he like transported back 26 years ago mentally.
Yeah.
And
It
it
was,
kind of you can see that happening, and it's like, whoa, that's either he's a really good actor or that's legit. You know what I mean?
And
yeah,
that's the
he
thing,
got very emotional.
none of them are actually actors because none of them came out in soap operas and commercials, and they're just living regular lives. So I think it's real. I think it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, the Eric Lopez, the guy partner who was driving with the gentleman that passed away, he threatened, at first he threatened the camera people with a gun and to shoot them for getting off his property and things like that. So it seemed to be very, very real in certain of those incidences. And like you said, to echo what you said, you have some people that came forward that aren't just normal people that were witnesses. You have military personnel, you have medical personnel, firefighters, police officers, and then you have the corroborating evidence amongst the common folk witnesses. It makes it very valid. What do you think, Blue? Do you think this is real or not?
I think it's real. I want to say, it's like the evidence. The sister has, the brother that passed away. You have the evidence of the U.S. going and picking them up with the the flight manifestos. So yeah, I think so.
I do too, man. I think it's real, and it's crazy because, to be honest with you guys, I was becoming very skeptical when it came to aliens and possible crafts. I was like, man, everything that I've seen or whatnot, to me was like, well, maybe perhaps this is just some kind of advanced technology that we're not aware of or privileged to, that we created. When you have something like a body and you have unidentifiable substances and toxins and a reaction such as the young man did, yes, the Nazca lines, that's true. And so when you have those type of things,
That's what I was thinking earlier. I just couldn't remember the dang name.
yeah, it brings some credibility, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Jaime, before we go, did you want to show someone, everybody, a little something that we're going to be giving away here pretty soon?
Yeah, let me take out much. Oh no!
That's
well,
members only.
Yeah. Well, let me get off. I gotta get off my virtual backgrounds. So let me do that.
You gotta get out of the woods.
I gotta get out of the woods, and I'm home.
Oh my god! People know you're not in the woods now.
I've been faking it all this time, just like the government. It's a little button. I made a button. Little button. Little button. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Can you see it?
We can see it. We're gonna be giving that away next Friday, y'all, to a member, and Big Blue's gonna autograph it, not with his hands.
No, put lipstick and just kiss it.
With that said, y'all, I'm glad everybody joined and was able to be a part of the show. We might put out some more stuff coming out this week. Next week, we have a cold case that we got some information on and a possible suspect that nobody knows that's been revealed to us that we've been able to also uncover. in a cold case. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We have some big news when it comes to that case.
Hell
With
yeah.
that being said, we're the Drunk Turkey Show, y'all. Like always, we tell you not to drink, but we don't want you listening to drunks. Peace out.